Hello everybody, and welcome to part 1 of my 2025-2026 vintage Christmas light installation. That's right, this year's video is in 2 parts. You'll learn why in a little bit, and the second part will come, I hope, in a couple of weeks. Now, if you don't know what this is or why and how I got into vintage Christmas lights, you should watch last year's video. I'll link a card here where I talk about it in full. But I'll give you a short refresher for this video. In 2019, I was a year out of university, living on my own for the first time ever while not being in school. And I decided that I wanted to, for the first time, do my own Christmas decorating, namely with Christmas lights. Because I love Christmas lights, I've loved them my whole life. And I, as someone who was a preteen when the first LED Christmas lights came out, and when I was young it was very cool new whiz-bang technology when the first LED Christmas lights came out, and then in the next few years as they got cheaper and more people began adopting them, I decided that I didn't really like how they look compared to the old incandescent Christmas lights, the very cold monochromatic colors. I just wasn't a fan of it. And I decided that if I was going to hang my own Christmas lights, which I wanted to do, I wanted it to be older and perhaps even vintage incandescent Christmas lights. Yes, I know this camera's gone out of focus. I don't know why. There we go. So I went on a hunt, a successful hunt, to procure a bunch of vintage C7 Christmas lights. I had never personally lived in a home decorated with C7 Christmas lights. My dad's house had C9 lights hung up on the outside, but by the time I came around, they were no longer functional. We didn't actually plug them in. They had just been hung decades ago, and they weren't actually used anymore, probably for good reason, probably not safe to plug in after being hung up there for so many decades. So my only experience with older Christmas light technologies was incandescent mini lights, but I had always loved the old C7 and C9 Christmas lights, and I wanted to see if I could procure some strings of my own that I could decorate with, and I was successful in doing that. I bought several strings of lights on eBay and shopgoodwill.com, and back in my old apartment I did a big decoration using those lights, and last year, for the first time in this apartment after a couple of years of not bothering, I hung these up in here last year, and I've done it again for this year. So I was able to procure a bunch of strings of Christmas lights dating as far back potentially as the 1940s. Definitely some strings from the 50s and 60s. And it's been really fun running them. So I made a great big video last year showing you what I had hung up and talking about them. And I'm going to do the same this year, but I'm going to talk about the new stuff. So, first of all, I want to give some updates on last year's video, because like this video, I made last year's video at the beginning of the season, and some stuff happened during last year's Christmas light season after I'd made that video. First of all, the big thing is I decorated Mom's Christmas tree with vintage lights, or at least vintage style lights. Mom usually alternates between going with multicolor lights and decorations for Christmas on the tree and clear and white and silver decorations. Last year she wanted to go multicolor, and she let me decorate it using the lights that I had. So I think I have some pictures and videos that I can throw up for you here. I decorated Mom's tree with the G40 Globe incandescent Christmas lights. I used the 2 sets of Noma Heritage glass globe incandescent Christmas lights that I had, and I also threw in some bubble lights among it, and it looked so beautiful. I was so happy. It was the most beautiful Christmas tree that I had ever personally done in my life. I was so happy that Mom let me do that. And it was just gorgeous. So that's one thing I did, was I got to decorate Mom's tree. Mom had never had a Christmas tree with lights like that on it. She really enjoyed it too. She had never even seen bubble lights before, despite growing up in that era. It just wasn't something that her family ever had. So that's one thing I did, was decorate Mom's Christmas tree with those lights, and it was terrific. This year, she's not doing that. She's going with white, clear, silver, etc. So I'm not going to have a hand in it, aside from helping her put it together the way she wants to. Another thing last year I had, this is just a statistic, in total I had 13 dead bulbs. I had 9 bulbs dead out of the box, which I mentioned in last year's video, and then I had 3 more fail in situ over the course of the season. Between the end of last year and the beginning of hanging these up for this year, I threw away 4 vintage light strings. If you watch near the end of last year's video, I showed a couple of strings that I wasn't sure if I wanted to throw them away or if I wanted to try selling them or what I wanted to do. I decided to throw them both away. One of them had sockets that were just kind of a poor design and kind of flaky, and the other one had, I believe, also a flaky socket. And I wasn't sure whether or not to toss them. I decided, after I made last year's video, I just threw those 2 strings away. And now this season, in the process of hanging these strings up, I threw 2 more strings away. 3 of the 4 strings I threw away were the really old twisted wire strings from the 1940s to 60s. The 4th string was a slightly newer, maybe 70s or 80s vintage, straight green wire string. And the 2 I threw away this season, same reason, or actually no, different reason. Both of them had, one of them had a cut in the wiring. Because see, safety is very important to me. It may not seem like it just by pure virtue of hanging these very old Christmas light strings up, but at the beginning and end of every season, I go over them with a fine-tooth comb. I check the sockets, I check the wiring, I check the integrity of wire attachments to the plugs and to the sockets. I do it after I take the strings down at the end of the season, and I do it again at the beginning of the next season. And so, it was just a few days ago that I hung these up. I found one string that had a cut in the wiring and bare copper was showing. It makes me sad because it probably hung like that last year and I didn't catch it, so that kind of sucks on my part. And the other string had a repair that I made years ago, back when my safety standards were kind of lower. I spliced a cut out of a string, or some damage out of a string, covered it with heat shrink tubing, and this year I looked at that repair with the heat shrink tubing, and as a test I gave it a bit of a flex, and the solder job breached the heat shrink tubing and poked through it, so I decided to just toss that string away. So yeah, that's what I've done. So between the end of last season and the beginning of this season, 4 vintage strings thrown away. And that causes a bit of an issue because I officially don't have enough strings for everything that I want to do, or at least I don't have enough strings of this style with the twisted red and green wiring, this 1940s to 1960s. I love this style of Christmas light string. So what I've done is, I've done something kind of cool. I was waiting for the right opportunity, the right excuse to do it. Now I finally do it. I placed an order with Tru-Tone. I talked about Tru-Tone in last year's video. They are one of 2 small companies making vintage style LED Christmas lights. And what I mean is they have made LED Christmas lights engineered to look so exacting to incandescent lights that you literally can't tell them apart. So I decided, being out of this style of Christmas light string was a good reason to make an order on Tru-Tone's website. I bought a 25 pack of bulbs, and I bought one of their deluxe light strings. And here in Canada, after tax, after shipping, one of their deluxe light strings and a set of bulbs, $200 Canadian. It was not a trivial purchase at all. But I've really wanted a reason to buy some of their stuff for a couple of years now. It's a small business, literally 2 guys running the show, and it's just so much love poured into their products. They're designed and made very well. The presentation is amazing, the packaging and stuff. And yeah, and with everything going on in the States right now, I figure they probably don't have it very easy, just like any small business owner. So, and I feel like when you buy Tru-Tone stuff, it's probably one of those buy it for life kind of purchases. So I decided to just go ahead. I bought a string, I bought a set of bulbs. It came to $200 after tax and shipping, and I'm totally happy. I cannot wait for it to come in. I could have saved $50 by buying one of their classic light strings instead of the deluxe string, but I decided I wanted to go big or go home. I bought the deluxe string. The deluxe string has cloth covered wiring and this very type, this sort of Bakelite looking type of socket. The classic strings have off-the-shelf Admiral sockets, which are these here. So when you buy a Tru-Tone classic light string, you get off-the-shelf Admiral sockets on cord that's just like this, and they're very nice too. But if you pay, at least here in Canada, $50 Canadian more to get the deluxe light string, you get that style of socket and cloth covered cord. So I wanted to give that a shot. So that's what I've done. That's why there's going to be a part 2 to this video, because once that comes in, and hopefully the next week or 2, I will unbox it and we'll see it together for the first time on video. And then I'll hang it up. So the only strings of this type that I have left are this string, which goes back to the corner there, 15 light string, and then I have 2 7 light strings. One right there, there's where the junction is, and then another 7 light string right here. And oh yeah, one of these 7 light strings, I myself had forgotten just a few minutes ago. One of those 4 light strings I threw away. I didn't actually throw the whole string. I cut it in half, threw half of it away because it had a bunch of repairs I did in years past. And I turned the other half into a 7 light string. It was originally a 15 light string. So yeah, that's one of these strings here. I threw the other half away. And that's all of the twisted wire strings that I have. This going down the hallway is 2 newer style straight wire strings. And this is a little too long. It goes all the way into the office. So yeah, I would like to take this down. Once the Tru-Tone string comes in, I'll take this down. This is 2 strings. The junction is right here. I'll take these 2 strings down and replace it with the Tru-Tone string, or probably more likely put the Tru-Tone string out here where it can be visible as soon as you walk in, and then I'll move one of these strings down the hallway. So yeah, that should be really cool. Other than that, you can see the setup is similar to last year. I got kind of this square circle in the living room area, and then down the hallway. I don't have a string in the office yet. I did last year. I might be able to put a 7 light string in the office once the Tru-Tone package comes in. And I had even more failed bulbs already this season than I did last year, or I already have the same number as I did all of last season. Putting these up, I had 12 bulbs dead out of the box, and one more has failed in situ already. So already 13 failed bulbs. So these bulbs are dropping like flies, and actually I don't know if you've noticed yet, but I am officially out of blue and green solid color bulbs. So I have had to substitute in some of these translucent bulbs. So there's a few translucent blue and green bulbs in the installation here, and that's the other excuse I had for putting in the Tru-Tone order, is because I'm out of bulbs. And I know I think last year I talked about it. I considered my very favorite style, or my very favorite C7 bulbs are the vintage General Electric ceramic coated bulbs. I think this is one here. Is this one? No, it's not. It kind of looks like one, though. I think this is one. Yeah. See if I can give you a look here. You can see the GE logo there. These are beautiful. These look a lot nicer than later solid color C7 bulbs. These bulbs are from the 60s, maybe 70s. And I have just a few of these GE ceramic coated bulbs. So I considered last year going on eBay and buying some vintage GE ceramic coated bulbs, blue and green bulbs particularly, to get me what I need. But I've decided not to do that. I'd pay just as much, if not more, for vintage bulbs on eBay as I paid for the Tru-Tone bulbs, and I want to support Tru-Tone. Just a small business trying to make Christmas a little more beautiful. So yeah, that's what I've decided to do. I'm not going to buy any vintage bulbs on eBay. I want to support Tru-Tone. Also, it it gets warm in here with all these incandescent bulbs going. It's not been a particularly cold season yet. We've only had like 1 day below freezing, so I'm running these for this video, but I can actually only run these maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. It starts heating up the apartment. I don't run any heat in here. This place is so well insulated that having these running for a few hours, it raises the temperature enough that I'm warm, and I shut them off for a while. So it's a good reason to start to go LED. So I'm really excited to try the Tru-Tone bulbs. So yeah, that's what's going on here, but you may have noticed, I'm sure you were hoping I got to it, take a look at that. I've got a tree for the first time in this apartment, and actually it's the first time in probably 4 or 5 years that I've had this tree. So this is a 4-foot artificial pencil tree. I had it up for I think only a year or two in my old apartment, and I decided this year, especially since Mom's tree's not going to be multicolor, I wanted to get my own tree set up, so that's what I've done. So for the first time I have purchased mini lights. I decided this tree, it's not really big enough to not look goofy with C7 bulbs in it, although in the past I did actually have I forget if I had C7 globes on this tree, or C7 bulbs on this tree, but at the very least I had the G40 bulbs on this tree. But I decided it would probably look better with mini lights, so I went to Walmart, and for $10 for a string of 100 lights, Walmart was selling incandescent multicolor mini lights. So I bought 2 sets of 100, and the 2 sets were the perfect amount to go on this tree. So I've got incandescent mini lights on this tree, and you can see I've got a string of 7 C7 sockets on here that I have fitted with bubble lights. So this is the first time in a few years that you guys have seen these bubble lights. I made a video of them way back when I first got them. I have bought another set of 7 of them since I made that video. I bought the first set and now I've got a second set, so I've got spares. I've had one tube lose all its liquid somehow. It just evaporated away. But yeah, we've got incandescent mini lights and bubble lights going on, which is great. Here's the boxes that my bubble lights came in. This was the first set I bought several years ago, and this is the second set that I bought, I think, last year. They come in kind of a plainer box now. This box is humorously labeled 5-watt incandescent. But these are sold by a company called Brighttown, and I checked Amazon. They're still selling them this year, which is great. You can get a set of 7, or they also sell them as a string of 7, so you get a 7 light string with the bulbs installed. And they also sell them as a 9 light string, and they're all priced very affordably. I'll show you, for some reason I put the newer set on the tree. I didn't think to reuse the first set that I've had, but I'll show you here. So I had one that the tube, the liquid, I had these hung up at my old job at my desk. And I came into work one day and just noticed that one of the tubes had no liquid in it anymore. So I just pulled that tube out, but the bulb is still good in here. So if I ever have one burn out, the bulb burns out, but the tube is still good, I can just transplant the tube onto here. I think that'll be easier than trying to get the bulb, trying to separate these two halves and get the bulb out and transplant the bulb. So yeah, I keep the bulb around since it still works. But yeah, very great that you can get these on Amazon. And they're not too expensive either. Now, I will admit, I forgot about the Vintaglow lights. I spoke about them last year. Vintaglow are the other incandescent style LED Christmas lights that you can buy that emulate the incandescent lights terrifically. I will mention the company that makes Vintaglow lights. They've actually changed their name. Last year they were called Seasons Reflections Company, and they are now called the Merry Company, M-E-R-R-Y. So the Merry Company and Tru-Tone, they are your two companies that are kind of just really small operations making really good LED Christmas lights that emulate incandescent lights. And just like with Tru-Tone, the Merry Company, their presentation of the Vintaglow products is terrific. Just really nice packaging that you want to keep, and yeah, it's just great. So I kind of forgot about the Vintaglow lights, or I might have considered buying them instead of the incandescent, but I may have just decided to go with the incandescent anyway, especially because they were so cheap at 10 bucks a string. Now you may notice that these lights, in addition to red, green, and blue, they've got orange and they've got pink. Now, historically, my favorite kind of mini lights are the older style that's red, yellow, green, blue. But I've had strings in my past with pink and orange as well. I think both kinds look nice. I do want to maybe buy some Vintaglow lights in the future, and if I do, they do sell the old style red, yellow, green, blue, so that's the kind I'll buy. Because I think next year, just like with the C7 lights, this is contributing to heating this place up as well. So next year I may buy LED mini lights for this tree as well. I used to have lots of multicolor mini lights. I had tons of them that my family had collected over the decades. I lost them all to my ex. They were left at my ex's house when we split. These newer lights, though, they feel much higher quality than the old sets I had. The wire is much thicker, and while it does make them a little harder to wrangle onto the tree, I'm sure it makes them much safer. So yeah, these for 10 bucks a set, These seem great. They seem very good quality. It's Walmart's Holiday Time brand of lights. But yeah, there you go. I've got a tree this year for the first time in I think 4 or 5 years. So very, very happy. Here's what those sets look like if you go into Walmart looking for them. And I also bought a pack of replacement bulbs, 98 cents. I think in this economy in Canada, getting 10 bulbs for less than $1, I think that's pretty great. Now, kind of a little frustrating. These bulbs were on the shelf immediately beside these light sets. But it turns out they're not the correct replacement bulbs. These 100 light sets use 2.5 volt bulbs, whereas these are 6 volt bulbs meant for use on, I think, 50 light sets. Or maybe even less. I think these might only be for 20. Yeah, these are for 20 light sets. So a little frustrating. These were hanging right next to the 100 light strings, and these were the only replacement bulbs I saw. I don't know if there were even 2.5 volt replacements on the shelf, but I did look it up on Walmart's website. They do sell 2.5 volt packs. And do these, like, would I have known if I looked on, obviously you can do math and just multiply the number of bulbs by 120 volts and you know what voltage the bulbs are, but if you weren't, yeah, they do put it on the box, use 2.5 volt bulbs. Okay, so it was just negligence on my part as a consumer. But I'm not gonna return these, and I'm not gonna buy the correct bulbs, because one of the things I liked about the old strings that I had that I lost at my ex's house was because they were so old and many bulbs had burned out over the decades, they had been fitted with new bulbs of whatever random voltages my parents happened to buy, and later that I happened to buy. And so the bulbs were of various voltages in the strings, and so the bulbs were all varying in brightness, and I kind of liked that aesthetic. You know, some of the bulbs were normal brightness, some were really dim because they were 6 volt bulbs in a 2.5 volt string, and some were really bright because they were the 2.5 volt bulbs in a more than 2.5 volt string, and I kind of liked that uneven aesthetic. So I'll keep these, and if I ever have to use them, I will stick them in. This just in, right after I finished the taping of this video, I accidentally discovered that Tru-Tone is coming out with their own mini lights. Take a look at this. Tru-Tone has not mentioned anything on their website or Facebook page or anything, but I was watching YouTube on my phone and YouTube recommended me this video by user Drosselmeyer, also known as Vintage Christmas Commercials, Tru-Tone Mini Lites First Look. And there they are, and a box has been designed and everything. So this YouTuber, and I'll link this video in the description, they managed to get a preview of these mini lights. There they are. They look beautiful. And then I did some Googling, and while I found no other information, I found also this video by a user called Dan Spiffy Newman, unboxing prototypes, new products, flashing / twinkle. So Tru-Tone's also coming out with twinkle lights. And where's the mini lights? There's the mini lights. Or those might be some incandescent lights that he's comparing with. I'm not sure. But yeah, Tru-Tone is coming out with their own mini lights. They've stayed completely silent about this. But these two YouTubers got shipped a box to preview somehow. And it's very interesting to me because one of these YouTubers is significantly smaller than myself, and the other one is only twice the size of myself. How did these guys get unreleased Tru-Tone products to tease on video? Are they in Utah and friends of the owners of Tru-Tone? I don't know, but this is really cool. And I'm honestly kind of surprised that Tru-Tone came out with mini lights, because Mary Company with their Vinteglow lights, they really seem to have that, they seem to own that segment now. So I'm kind of surprised that Tru-Tone would try to compete with them. But it was on one of these videos. Which one was it? Yeah, Mary Company actually welcomed Tru-Tone to what they call the ever-growing plastic bulb club. So Mary Company seems to be perfectly happy with this competition. Hell, maybe they're working together on these, I don't know. But it's very interesting, because from what we can see, the Tru-Tone set uses the modern red, orange, green, blue, and pink combination, which, as I showed earlier, Mary Company also offers that. They call it their Classic Multi, but Mary Company also offers the Yule Multi, which is the vintage style red, blue, yellow, green, just 4 colors. At the same time, I also discovered that Sylvania, or whatever company is using Sylvania's brand name, they have also come out with incandescent style LED Christmas lights that have gotten, LED mini lights rather, that have gotten really great reviews. They're called the Traditional Glow, and people have spoken highly of these too. They're quite affordable. They're not very available here in Canada. I can't buy them online. The only stores that sell them are Rona, which the nearest one's almost 3 hours away from me, and Costco, which I don't go to either. Although I can get them shipped from Rona for an extra 10 bucks. But yeah, the price is right, and Sylvania is selling these as well, and people have talked really highly of these as well. So we're about to have 3 players in the incandescent style LED mini light game, which is terrific. Interestingly, apparently Tru-Tone's set is going to use plastic bulbs, just like Mary Company, which I didn't know that the Mary Company lights were plastic bulbs. I just assumed they were glass just because of how great they look. However, the Sylvania bulbs are actual glass, and so there's been a bit of discussion which is better, the plastic that Vinteglow and soon Tru-Tone are going to use, or the glass that Sylvania is using. My knee-jerk reaction is that the glass bulbs are going to be better, but I have read that some people say the plastic bulbs work better with the LED, with the diodes, just because the way it interacts with the light from the diode helps it be a bit more glowy and less of sort of a point light source. So maybe plastic really is the way to go on these LED mini lights. I don't know. But also, I've read one account that just like the incandescent lights, the Sylvania LED lights, because the bulbs are glass, the paint on them fades and chips, just like the incandescent lights do. So if you're going for an authentic look, the Sylvania may do better in that respect, with bulbs fading and chipping over time. I wish there was a store that sold these near me so I could go in and see it with my own peepers, but obviously no stores, especially here in Canada, are selling anything made by Tru-Tone or Mary Company, and I'm not going to be able to see the Sylvania lights in person either. So I think it's one of those things where maybe next year, next season, I will buy some. I might buy more than one company's brand of stuff and see what I think of them. But yeah, really cool that we've now got 3 players in the incandescent style mini light game. And you know, Sylvania's also got the modern 5-color style. They don't offer the older 4-color style. Mary Company's the only one doing that. And I decided to do some looking online, because I started to wonder, was the older 4-color style actually an older style, or was the newer 5-color style always the style, and I just happened to have sets when I was a kid that had the older 4-color style. So I decided to see what were people like General Electric doing. You know, what color scheme were their older Mini Lites using? And yes, at one point in history, Mini Lites were known as midget lights, and GE's products were called Merry Midget. I'm awfully glad we don't call them that anymore. But this is a set from the 60s. It used a really weird bi-pin base for the bulbs. And it had the 4-color style, red, blue, yellow, green. Here's a set from the 70s. They went with a more conventional, slightly more conventional style base for the bulbs, and it too has the 4-color red, green, yellow, blue going on. Here's a set probably from the 80s, and it still has the 4 colors, red, green, looks like a bit of a more orange, and blue, and then that repeats. And then here's a set from the early 2000s, and finally you can see in either the 90s or the 2000s was when GE went to the 5-color red, orange, green, pink, blue. So yeah, it really was a fact that the earlier Mini Lites had the 4-color scheme. Here's a Noma set from the 80s, however, and it has the 5-color scheme: red, blue, orange, green, orange, pink, green. And so obviously it depended a little bit on what brand of lights you bought too. GE was sticking to the 4-color scheme, and Noma here went to the 5-color scheme in the 80s, if not earlier. So I guess both are valid when you're going for a vintage Mini Lite look. So that was kind of interesting to see. But yeah, really interested about the Tru-Tone Mini Lites. I was already planning on probably buying some Vintaglow lights next year. But maybe I'll go with the Tru-Tone, or maybe I'll go all out and buy both, and maybe even try these Sylvania ones too. I don't know. I'm hoping more YouTubers do comparison videos. It'd be neat to see what they think. Something else I'll give an update on. So these are my 2 Noma Heritage Glass Globe light sets. These were something that Canadian Tire sold for only 2 seasons in 2019 and 2020. And back then I saw them in the store. I was so taken that I bought a box for like 35 bucks, and then I liked it so much that I spent another 35 bucks and bought the second box. These are really cool. They use G40 shape incandescent bulbs, so these globe shaped bulbs. It's on a standard C7 socket, an E12 base socket, and these have such a soft glow because they're only 5 watts, but it's a bigger bulb. So it's a really soft, gentle glow, and also because it's a larger bulb, they stay relatively cool to the touch compared to normal C7 bulbs. So the killer application for these, in my opinion, is Christmas trees. Because they're just a lot safer to use if you're going to use any large incandescent bulbs. These are much safer to use than the C7 bulbs. So yeah, Canadian Tire only sold these for 2 years. I'm really glad I have these 2 sets. And in last year's video, I mentioned a couple of things. First thing I mentioned was that I was considering selling a box. But I'm not going to do that. I want to keep both of these. My hope is that someday in the future, maybe it won't be in this apartment. I might have to wait until I'm living somewhere else, or it could be in this apartment if I rearrange the living room here. I would love to have a big tree, like a nice 7-foot tall tree, or however tall that I can get in this apartment. And I would love to fit it with these, and I would need both of these strings to do that. I would just love to do that. So I'm going to keep both of these. I'm not going to sell one. And then the other thing I brought up in last year's video was that Canadian Tire sold these, but they never sold spare bulbs for them. And I could not find anywhere where you could buy spare bulbs for these, online or otherwise. Now, that was because I was using the wrong search terms. In last year's video, I mistakenly called these G30 bulbs. I did correct it in text on the video. But once I realized that these are G40 and not G30, I discovered that you can buy replacement bulbs for these on Amazon. And so last year I bought this pack of G40 multicolored bulbs. I bought them on Amazon. They were very affordable. They weren't available on the Canadian Amazon. I did have to go through the American Amazon, but they do ship to Canada. And I have found that this year there's another company who sells these on the Canadian Amazon now, including and in addition to the American Amazon. So these ones I bought last year. The brand name is Goothy, G-O-O-T-H-Y. And they are exactly the same bulbs as these. They seem to be identical. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out of the same factory. But I'll show you here. There they are. And they were perfect. They look identical, lit and unlit, from what Canadian Tire put in their sets. And all 25 of these bulbs were good out of the box. So yeah, this is terrific. So I now have spare bulbs for these sets, or if I just want to put them in a random set, I can do that too. So if you go on Amazon and you search G40 multicolor, you will come across these. The price is fair. I hope Tru-Tone someday can make LED versions of these. I think that would be terrific. But yeah, I really love these, and I love the sets. Even the presentation of these sets, the artwork on the box, it was a really nice effort by Canadian Tire. I don't know why they never offered them again. Maybe they just didn't sell. They don't do any of the Heritage series anymore. The Noma Heritage was a whole series of vintage style Christmas lights that used real incandescent bulbs, and they did it for 2 years and then quit. I think it's too bad, but maybe they just didn't sell. But there is another cool little update. But wait, there's more. This is the 1960s, possibly 70s vintage General Electric C7 light string that I showed here in my bedroom in last year's video. Not only is it back again in my bedroom for this year, but I actually never took it down. I use this all year round now. Last year I had it fitted with G40 bulbs, and I used it all year round like that. It's perfect lighting for when I am going to bed, because I've got it on this dimmer here. So I can dim it down. I showed this in last year's video too. But yeah, I had it fitted with G40 bulbs, and I have switched them out just before I started this video. I switched them out for these translucent C7 bulbs. I actually do not like how this looks with translucent bulbs nearly as much as with the G40 bulbs. I basically did this A, just to switch things up, and B, because I have a few dozen of these translucent bulbs. I tried to sell them on Facebook Marketplace at one point. Nobody bit for 10 bucks. And I kind of just want to get rid of them, so I'm just using them with the hope that maybe they burn out. But they look pretty enough. I'm just not as big of a fan of the translucent bulbs as I am the solid color bulbs. You can see I've got red, blue, green, pink. There's two oranges, and that is a solid color yellow bulb, although it doesn't look much different from a white bulb, just because I'm out of orange. I've only got 2 orange bulbs. You can see that's a twinkle bulb, and the reason it looks so weird is way back in the day, the paint was chipping on it so bad that I covered it with blue nail polish just to give it some color back. It looks like crap now, but it is what it is. I did that years ago. But, yeah. That is this string, which I use all year round now, and once the Christmas season's over, I'll probably put the G40 bulbs back in it, or maybe I'll put the incoming Tru-Tone LED bulbs in it. That would actually probably be better for the warmer season. And lastly for this video, something that I'm not sure I've ever shown you guys before, but this is a C9 string. It's my only C9 string. It's got the bigger sockets on it. This is a 25 light string, and it's an outdoor rated string, which I think all C9 strings are. Something I would like to do that I've never done before is I kind of want to see if I can hang Christmas lights up on this house. My landlady used to do it. She can't anymore. I would love to see if I could get this C9 string up on the house under the eaves and make this house look a little pretty for Christmas. I bought these bulbs. I bought these way back in the day from, I think it was ChristmasLightSource.com. There's an X through the description because I used this box to hold C7 bulbs for a while. But I bought these solid color C9 bulbs. Dropped a blue one before I ever even put these into use. So this is a translucent blue one that I've put in its place. And yeah, I would love to see if I could get this string up on the house. I bought these clips at Walmart. I'm not sure if they're actually going to work or not. And the other thing is that today, after I got home from work, I laid this string out on the ground outside to see how long it was, and I was hoping it would reach the entire fascia of the house. I was hoping it'd be long enough to do that, but it isn't. It only goes like 3/4 of the way across, so I don't even know if it'd be worth trying because this is the only string I've got. I'll have to talk to my landlady and see if she has any strings still hidden away somewhere. If I could cough up another string without having to actually spend money, then I might go through with it and do it. I don't like getting this house is tall. It's you know 1.5 floors, and I don't relish going up 10-12 feet up on a step ladder. I've done it before. I did it to hang our security cameras. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see if my landlady has any strings that she can add to this. If she doesn't, then I may decide not to bother. Or I could do something else. The side of the house that faces the road is the short side. And I don't know, maybe I can buy like a huge wreath or something to hang up on the side of the house and just stick these all around that wreath, or maybe I can build something using garland. I don't know. I think there's a few ways I could go about it if this is the only string I've got, and so I will consider my options. But yeah, if I come up with something, you will see it in the in part 2. And I think that concludes part 1 of my 2025-2026 vintage Christmas light installation. A lot of developments. I threw a few sets away, converted one set from 15 to 7 lights so I could throw the other half away. I've got a tree going on this year with mini lights and bubble lights. And I'm going to add more stuff to this tree. I'm going to, since Mom's not going to be using her multicolor decorations this year, I'm going to grab some stuff like the star and maybe some non-lit decorations. We've had lots of C7 bulbs burn out. So between that and the strings that I threw out, I've placed an order with Tru-Tone, really excited for that to come. And I may attempt putting up some C9 lights on the house here. We will see what happens. And I found some spare G40 incandescent bulbs, which is really exciting. So that's it for part one. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you have enjoyed looking at all of these vintage lights. And I will see you in part two, where we will unbox my package from Tru-Tone. Very exciting. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.